What's going on, everyone? Oh, sorry, Ben. You usually host this show.
Yeah.
Um, Good to be back. We are the Unqualified Film Bros. We're coming at you with another episode. We're going to be having an event episode tonight. Hope you enjoy it. We are celebrating the release of the Moon Knight trailer last week with an MCU bracket. No, we had this idea a while ago when Hawkeye wrapped up as a nice round 32 projects in the MCU. 32 works really well for a bracket after our Christmas bracket in December. So here we go with our MCU bracket. And before I share the screen, we decided to seed the films and TV series by their Rotten Tomatoes critics scores, with the tiebreakers as their Letterboxd scores on average. So here goes Zoom, and we are sharing the screen.
I'm certainly glad we're talking about the MCU. We don't talk about that enough on this podcast, you know.
Something, how do you mute someone? Just going through the motions. All right, so the first matchup we're going to do here, we're going to jump around in this first round. We're going to jump around all night. So looking at it, let's go with our 14 seed and our 19 seed. Far From Home and the Avengers. Is there a conversation to be had?
The only thing that slightly sucks is that the Avengers' director is now has baggage to him, is what I'll say. But I would pick the Avengers.
I would pick the Avengers too.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Well, it looks like we're going to be unanimous on that one. Our first winner, moving on to the Sweet 16, is Marvel's The Avengers.
Nice.
So let's come down here and do our second matchup, two Phase 4 projects. Number 23, Eternals, against number 10, Chongchi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Is this a conversation?
It's also pretty easy. As much as I'll defend Eternals, Shang-Chi is by far the better project.
Yeah, have to go with that one. The same.
All right, well, we're not having much debate here. Let's go to one where we'll have some debate. 16 versus 17, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier against Captain America Civil War.
So this is an interesting one.
Let it be known that Declan just finished watching The Falcon and the Winter Soldier for
literally
the first time.
Today. And what's even stranger is I honestly think The Falcon and the Winter Soldier might be my favorite MCU miniseries of them all. Like, I've now seen all of them, I think. I'm blank. No, except Hawkeye, what am I talking about? But still, I think it honestly might be my favorite. And so this is one of the closest ones, but I will say this. I felt like Captain America and Bucky's relationship in Civil War, it almost felt like a slight weak.
Are you talking about Cap Steve or Cap Sam?
Cap Steve in Civil War specifically. Relationship there, it's sort of a bit of a weak link because you understand on paper why Steve would fight so hard for Bucky, but it feels like it isn't as true as it is. I honestly feel like the dynamic between Cap Falcon, Captain America, and
Falcon
and the Winter Soldier in yes, exactly, in the Falcon the Winter Soldier is stronger than. And so I think for that, by a hair, I think I might honestly have to give my vote to the Falcon the Winter Soldier. Their relationship itself is what sealed it.
I think the amount of fan service in the airport battle gives me no hesitation in picking Civil War.
That's fair. That's honestly fair. It is a fantastic scene.
Yeah,
I think. Go ahead, Ben. You got this.
I like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I do hear you on the. I think the camaraderie is a lot better between Bucky and Sam
Mhm.
At the same time, I think Civil War is just a better overall project. It's really fun to see our heroes sort of become emotionally compromised and fight against each other, especially with their ideals and things. I think it's just a more interesting film overall. And again, it's more fun to see, Iron Man versus Captain America versus like normally, and they were like a little bit more of a complex villain. They were trying to like help people in their own way, but
Mhm.
they are still sort of the bad guys.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Civil War.
Yeah, I'm also going with Civil War too. As much as I like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I just think it's more of what was missing from the series rather than what it actually was, because I thought it was really strong. I just think some elements could have been enhanced to make it that much better.
That's completely fair. Yeah, I understand all that.
Yeah, a lot of parallels between those two. Obviously, Sam and Bucky as part of the core Captain America gang, we'll say,
Mhm.
the team, the crew. But also you got Helmut Zemo making an appearance in the series, so there's overlap, and
Mhm.
Sharon Carter, another one. So Civil War, I feel like, plays to its strengths in a way that works better for a motion picture. Falcon and Winter Soldier, while it was very in depth with all of its story beats, it's not a matter for me of picking Civil War over Falcon and Winter Soldier because I didn't like Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's just that I enjoy Civil War so much.
Mhm. Mhm. That makes sense. Yeah.
So why don't we go to something that I think will be fairly straightforward. Our 5 versus 28 matchup. Avengers Endgame against Captain Marvel.
It's you gotta go with Endgame.
That contest.
I didn't mind Captain Marvel as much
No,
as
no,
people,
it's,
but Endgame
Yeah.
is just better.
if it was against a different one, it could have potentially won against Endgame. It's almost unfair, but yeah.
Yeah, I just want to point out that we ran through this a few weeks ago after an episode with a coin toss deciding every matchup, and Captain Marvel did make it all the way to the semifinals.
Yeah.
So the Cinderella story doesn't even get off the ground here. Endgame, it's my favorite MCU project, so I was going to vote for it either way. All right, moving along here. Let's go down all the way to our bottom matchup. Another easy one, I think. What If against the Incredible Hulk?
Yeah, it's What If, no question for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get the Hulk out of it.
I feel as I shouldn't say anything just because I haven't seen all of Incredible Hulk yet. It's the one movie I haven't seen.
Declan, it's honestly okay.
Yeah.
If you've seen half of the Incredible Hulk, you can get a good picture of where it's going, and you can tell that What If is already better than half of the Incredible Hulk. It's better. It's better than this. It's better than the second half too. So whichever half you watched, it's better than that half.
The middle half.
Yeah. Oh, the middle half. Okay. Yeah.
So why don't we look at two heroes with completely different origin stories? Our 11 seed Black Panther against our 22 seed Ant-Man. I feel like Ant-Man is a ton of fun. I love Paul Rudd. Michael Douglas, friend of the pod, is great. But Black Panther is one of the best superhero movies ever made.
Like on sheer iconic power alone, I feel like I got to go with Black Panther. But also, like, I mean, Corey Stoll's a good actor. But did you know? Fun fact: he was actually in Ant-Man. Meanwhile, Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger is possibly one of the best performances in the movie, and possibly up there in the entire MCU. So yeah, no, for me it's Black Panther as well.
Yeah, it's a lot more of a epic adventure too. You know how he sort of like has to die and come back. Um, there's a lot more going on in Black Panther. Ant-Man's a fun time, but it's not as good.
Mhm.
Yeah, no arguments here. Black Panther all the way.
Okay. How about we look at a pair of brothers, sons of Asgard, the
Ooh.
2011 film Thor against the 2021 miniseries Loki. I feel like this one is closer than their seedings indicate.
I'm shocked that Loki
Really?
is 4. I
You think
won't
you're
lie.
closer?
It's still such an easy choice for me.
Yeah.
Loki
It's
takes this
really
one,
it's
no
really
question.
easy, but I
Um,
did just rewatch Thor today, and while it wasn't, it's not a great film. Kenneth Branagh's got to stop with the Dutch angles here. Every scene has them. It's a really good origin story just for early MCU.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
something film school, what George just said, but
Yeah.
whatever. Loki is
Wow, Max.
Loki's by far the stronger project. It's more compelling, even though it is a little slow, I think, in the beginning and in the middle, but
That's true.
it has such an interesting concept,
Yeah.
and it definitely is more original than Thor.
Mhm.
It's miles ahead of Thor in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The writing is so much better. The writing in Thor felt like it was stale to me. Like you have some moments where it's like, oh yeah, that's good comedic chops, good comedic writing, and then other parts they feel awkward. Um, yeah, Loki, obviously.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. Let's take a look here. Set up the first half of our last Sweet 16 matchup. 2 Captain America movies. The Winter Soldier
Ooh.
against the First Avenger. For me, that's not close. The Winter Soldier, originally, I thought, after I first saw it, it was the weakest of the Captain America films. That has 100% changed for me over the last few years.
Mhm.
It's not, I still think Civil War is my favorite Captain America film, but Winter Soldier is a very, very close second. So it gets my vote.
Mhm. I wouldn't say it's an easy choice for me. I would say, in fact, this might be one of the more difficult ones. With that being said, I think I'm probably still going to go with Winter Soldier as well. I feel like it built on all that came before it so well. I like First Avenger a lot. I feel like it almost holds a special place in my heart. Maybe it's just because Nazis die in it and all that, but I have to go with Winter Soldier. It's just a fantastic film and has such an important place in the MCU.
Yeah, you're making a good point about the Nazis dying, Declan. It's
Mhm.
always good to see that.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier, I just rewatched the first Avenger recently, and I liked it a lot more than I remembered liking it the first couple of times that I'd seen it. But the Winter Soldier, it's just such a grounded story, and I love I'm from DC, so it was nice to see my city represented.
And
And
destroyed.
and then subsequently destroyed. But it was so fun to see the Bucky as the Winter Soldier on screen. And then I remember the reveal in the first time I saw the film, and I was like, oh my god, what's happening? I have no idea, because I'm not a comics person, but now I obviously know what happens in it. So Winter Soldier, 100%.
Then is this going to be unanimous, or are you going to play
No,
devil's
no.
advocate here?
I actually prefer the first Avenger for a few reasons. Mainly, like Declan said, they fight Nazis. Lots of Nazis just going down. That's always good to winner in my book. But also, I do enjoy that the first Avenger really goes back to the beginnings of like Marvel Comics and specifically to Captain America. It's like very nationalist. It's very much propaganda for America. The way it was like selling bonds. It was very reminiscent of like Uncle Sam and stuff. I thought it was very cool to see that, and then like later on, see him like change his demeanor towards like blind, loyalty towards America, essentially. So like the first movie, I feel like reinforces that for me. So I like it a lot. And I kind of like, I don't know, it's like Hellboy in a way. There's just something about that World War II era Nazis that just feels right,
I get that.
Yeah, I just watched the Marvel one shot Agent Carter earlier today, which picks up a year after the events of the first Avenger, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm planning to watch First Avenger again soon. So maybe my thoughts will change. Who knows? But I think, sorry Ben, we're going with Winter Soldier here.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a difficult decision.
Also, Hugo Weaving. That's my last point.
Mr. Anderson. Sorry, wrong episode.
Yeah.
Benji, why don't you pick the next matchup here? See one you like.
See here. Maybe Hawkeye and Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
That's a good one. I was gonna pick that one if George came to me.
No, I'll go first. I love Hawkeye, but as everyone knows, I am a big Doctor Strange fan. I'm a big Benedict Cumberbatch fan. So Doctor Strange for me. I really do enjoy the whole sort of other dimensional way that they sort of did storytelling. I think it was the first like attempt at that, which obviously carried over like Loki and Doctor Strange too. But I enjoy that sort of like mystical vibe and like the dimensional vibe that comes with Doctor Strange. And who doesn't love magic? So
MJ makes it very clear that she doesn't at the end of No Way Home.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right, at least one person doesn't.
Max, Declan, what do you guys think?
I mean, in some ways, I'm unqualified to speak on this since I haven't seen all of Hawkeye. However, I mean, I will say, like I said, I did not enjoy the first episode of Hawkeye at all. I liked the second episode, but I enjoyed the film Doctor Strange. And so because I enjoyed what I saw from Doctor Strange, unlike only enjoying some parts of what I saw with Hawkeye, I'm going to have to go with Doctor Strange and leave it at that.
I think visually the two of them are impossible to compare. They have such different scales in their attempts at storytelling. You have Doctor Strange in the dark dimension, you have him in the mirror dimension and folding space and reality and all this crazy stuff. And it just looks very different than Hawkeye. I think Hawkeye was a really nice deep dive into Clint Barton and his human side of being a hero. But I think I will have to actually give this one to Doctor Strange, simply because the visuals are just incredible. And I just like the characterization of Stephen Strange, another kind of imperfect character that is a little bit cocky and maybe not that likable until even the end of the movie, and even at the end of the movie not a supremely likable character. So Doctor Strange.
Well, I thought I would be forcing a tie here by picking Hawkeye, but Max, you let me down there.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I would pick Hawkeye. Doctor Strange is one of the most stunning visual films I've ever seen. Benedict Cumberbatch gives an all-time great performance. I love Chiwetel Ejiofor. He steals the show as Carl Mordo. But Hawkeye, there's something about the low to the ground street level hero, the team up with him and Kate, the mystery behind who the real villain of the show is, the inclusion of Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, obviously that huge tie into another series that Marvel has done that I won't spoil because Declan hasn't seen it yet. But I respect the will of the group. Doctor Strange is the winner here.
I will say Hawkeye would beat out a lot of things for me.
Yeah, and I believe that's our first upset.
Oh wow.
So,
yeah. Well done, folks.
Max, you were complaining a minute ago about not getting to pick.
I was not complaining.
Why don't you pick the next matchup?
Okay. Let's do Ant-Man and the Wasp and Guardians of the Galaxy.
With all due respect to friend of the podcast, Michael Douglas, do we need to discuss it?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
No.
Let's not even say the name of the film that we're picking.
I will say one
It's
thing.
Ant-Man,
The
right?
fact that the seating for Ant-Man and the Wasp and the seating for Ant-Man is, Ant-Man and the Wasp is a much worse film than Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Wait, what's Ant-Man seating?
Ant-Man is
It's like
seated
22.
22.
Wow.
This is Rotten Tomatoes saying that they're basically the same film because critics have no taste when it comes to superhero movies. Or no, they're not able to distinguish between a really fun ride and something that rehashes everything that happened in the first movie.
Kind of, yeah.
You can't just put quantum in front of something and make it sound science-y.
Not
Actually,
even
yeah.
Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas, please come on the podcast. Declan, why don't you pick the next one?
Wait, could you scroll up to the
Yeah.
top one there? I think for for pure shtick, I think we got to go. If you scroll down to Homecoming versus Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I'm so glad you picked that one.
Like, okay,
Say your piece, Declan.
Here's what I'll say. Even if it wasn't my shtick for having the correct opinion about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and all that, and seeing that it's good, I would honestly still say that I do believe Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 would be my pick there. I've said this before in the podcast, but I'll say it again. I feel that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is a fantastic sequel that takes the amazing characters set up by Guardians 1 and then builds on and expands them in very interesting and super compelling ways that are all extremely emotional and has great thematic depth. Star-Lord dealing with his father-ish issues. I feel Kurt Russell does a fantastic performance as Ego, and as well as even just Rocket's his like mental trauma almost that he deals with throughout the show. I feel Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is fantastic, and Homecoming is fun, but I also feel like, it's only a good Spider-Man film that, while Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is a fantastic film, and so it has to get my vote in this seating.
I like the fact that Spider-Man Homecoming wasn't a Spider-Man origin story. You don't need to show the spider bite to have a fun Spider-Man movie. Including Tony Stark made the film better than just good for me. I really enjoyed the dynamic between Tony and Peter as presented in the film. I think Michael Keaton crushes his role as the Vulture in a way that some other Marvel villains, no disrespect to Kurt Russell, but in a way that Kurt Russell doesn't, in a way that some other villains don't. So I'm not going to take up too much time here. I'm going to say Homecoming is my pick here.
Yeah, like George said, the villain is much better, and I love Kurt Russell. I love the old movies with like John Carpenter that he did. It's one of my favorites, but same time, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 just feels really restricted in a lot of ways. Whereas Homecoming, it's a lot of fun, and also it feels more grounded, you know. Like, I know I just gushed about Doctor Strange and stuff, but at the same time, Doctor Strange feels like, I mean, he is a human being, whereas Ego is like
A living planet.
Yeah. Also, I didn't like that he claims to be a celestial, and now no one knows what that means. A little confusing. But yeah, I mean, Homecoming, I think, is just a better film. I like, you know, it went back to the old school, you know, Spider-Man, like dealing with girl issues, dealing with, you know, school, dealing with being Spider-Man. And then, yeah, like you said, Tony Stark coming in and serving as sort of like a mentor role, but like not being there all the time. It sort of let him make mistakes and stuff. Made the film. So, Homecoming.
Max, toss the
Yep.
kid a bone here and set up the tie.
No, I'm not doing that.
Sorry,
Another
Declan.
matchup, maybe. Homecoming absolutely takes this one. No question.
My cross to bear to be the correct person with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, you know, just how it has to be, you know, while everyone else is wrong about it, I'm right, but such is
No.
life. Such is life.
I'm gonna set up an easy one here and go with our 6 against our 27. Iron Man 3 is better than I think a lot of people give it credit for. It's better than a 27 seed here. But WandaVision's arguably, no, I think I'm going to say it, even though my rankings don't currently reflect it. It's the best MCU series they've done so far. Coming from someone who loves television, the fact that they paid all that tribute to the history of television, WandaVision's the easy choice.
Yeah, I feel Iron Man 3 is such a weird film. It has such a weird spot in the series. You know, first film after the Avengers, which kind of solidified the MCU as this massive thing that, you know, we still you know see a lot of it, you know. And it also has Shane Black, who's such a unique auteur, kind of, honestly, like, so it's an interesting one. Again, I agree with you that I think it's better than a 27 seeding. WandaVision still is, you know, fantastic. Once the recency bias of Falcon and the Winter Soldier diminishes for me, I'm sure WandaVision will go back to being my number one MCU TV series. But in this I go with WandaVision as well.
Yeah, WandaVision is just so good. Each episode is a fascinating look into the history of TV, as George said. And I think it's executed pretty brilliantly. And as always, the visuals are stunning, even brought to the small screen.
Yeah, I have nothing to say about Iron Man 3.
Well, then, Ben, why don't you pick the next matchup? We're still in the first round here.
We'll do Black Widow versus Iron Man.
That's a tough one for me.
Good one.
It's not for me. I think Iron Man 1, it's a great film. You know, it started it all. And it really captured like the fun, but also entertaining and complex like characters they were going for, and that they continue to make. Black Widow, while I enjoy it, I think they really missed the mark in terms of timing. Having it come out after Endgame when she's already dead, like, yes, it sets up some other things, but it's a lot harder to grow attached to a character that is already dead.
Well, you just swung me because I was going to vote for Black Widow. You're right. Iron Man's place in the franchise alone should give it the win here.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, like it's honestly like if Iron Man failed, we wouldn't be here right now. If all of its elements made it fantastic.
I mean, think about all of the slack that like how well it did to have the slack of the Incredible Hulk, and for them to just keep rolling on towards their vision.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And even arguably Iron Man 2,
Yeah.
Max, would you agree?
Yeah. I think against another movie, Black Widow would stand a good chance, but 100% Iron Man over Black Widow. I agree with Ben's statement on timing. I think that was my biggest thing as well
Mm-hmm.
when
Yeah.
watching Black Widow, which was a good
Definitely.
film, but it just didn't have the same emotional impact that I think it would have had if it had come out right after like Civil War, which I think is the correct timeline. If they'd just done that,
Or put
Yeah.
it between Infinity War and Endgame, and then have the other heroes introduced in Black Widow show up in Endgame.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's an
Just a
interesting
thought.
idea.
Yeah.
Let's move on here.
Kevin, if you'd like George's email, he'll give it to you without question.
Let's wrap up the first round here. Max, you wanna pick one? Got 3 more first round matchups.
Yeah, I'll do a quick one. Let's go to unless you wanted to end with the number 1 seed in the first round, George.
We don't have to.
Let's just do that one. I think it's pretty easy. No Way Home
No Way
absolutely
Home.
destroys
Yeah.
the Dark World. Yeah.
This is it's possibly the second most lopsided match after Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And the loss,
Alright.
I will, in my opinion, but
All right.
All right,
Declan,
buddy.
Declan, which of the last 2 first round matchups do you want to pick?
I'm going to go with let's talk about Infinity War versus Iron Man 2.
Infinity War.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll have to
Infinity
talk
War.
about it.
Iron Man 2 was kind of like John Favreau literally made an entire movie about how he was disappointed with how Iron Man 2 turned out. I haven't seen Chef, but it is.
I would just like to say that Iron Man 2 gets a terrible rap just because Sam Rockwell is phenomenal in the film, and yet Mickey Rourke has to do a Russian accent, so he's overshadowed. Our last first round matchup, this one also feels pretty easy for me. I'm going to go with Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Easily Ragnarok.
Age of Ultron, I would say, was for a while the closest MCU movie that I straight up disliked. I still liked it, but I felt like after leaving the theater, I was kind of confused by it. Like it felt out there, kind of.
I liked some parts. Mainly, I liked Ultron himself, but some other parts, it was strange.
If I had seen Age of Ultron before seeing season 8 of The Office, I think it would have had a better impact because James Spader just sounded like Robert California.
Well, I sound like James Spader, yeah.
That's a fair thing.
You should
all
see
right. So, Declan, why don't you pick our first matchup of the Sweet 16?
Ooh, okay.
This is where we start to get into the winners of the first round.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's this is I say another hard one. Let's do the Winter Soldier versus Guardians of the Galaxy.
I love each film in different ways. I'm gonna pick the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I feel as though, again, same thing, but I think maybe I feel as though Guardians of the Galaxy does feel a touch more unique and creative. So I think for that reason, I'm gonna go with Guardians. But it's this is a very hard match for me.
Ben?
This is a battle of aesthetics, I think. If you like the more gritty, Marvel stuff, the Winter Soldier. For me, I like the more zany stuff of Marvel. Guardians of the Galaxy is I thought it was one of the most unique, like Declan said. The whole soundtrack to it, the whole idea, the characters themselves, they're not what you typically expect from a hero. I think it's just overall a more fun adventure versus the Winter Soldier, which is a lot more clandestine in a way.
Yeah, this is one of those. I know I voted really quickly, but this is one of those that I won't be disappointed. Either way, the coin flips.
What's heads and what's tails?
The 8 seed Guardians of the Galaxy will be heads. The 9 seed, the Winter Soldier, will be tails. We go over to justflipacoin.com. You've seen us use this on Broken Chess before. So here we go. You know what tails looks like. Heads is the exact same font on the other side of the coin. Heads is Guardians of the Galaxy. Tails is Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Let's flip it.
There we
Guardians
go.
of the Galaxy is moving on.
Ooh. It was
Which
a tough
it's an
one.
It's an 8 against a 9, but honestly, kind of feels like an upset.
I don't think so. I think Guardians of the Galaxy is like a better film just in terms of like it's more unique, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
And it's very well.
So I'll pick the next matchup here. Let's go cosmic for Ben's sake. Doctor Strange against Loki.
I'll go first. I think as much as I do love Doctor Strange, Loki takes the elements that I really love about Doctor Strange and like amps them up while also having this really, again, like zany, fun atmosphere with the TVA and everything. I loved Mobius. I thought he was a great character. And I just
Wow.
I enjoyed the whole thing. The multiple, Lokis. The whole identity of the show was really unique. And I thought, yeah, like all of the good parts of Doctor Strange in terms of visuals was present in Loki with a better overall story and like feel to the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one, the seating represents how I feel. I enjoy Loki far more than I enjoy Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have to agree.
I'm gonna go with Loki.
Far more, but I feel like it's almost weird putting them together in this matchup just because.
Well, y'all voted for the upset in the last round over Hawkeye.
True. Okay, yeah. Regardless, I picked Loki.
Max.
Yeah, Loki.
All right, Ben. Over to you for the next matchup.
Let's do Thor Ragnarok versus Chongchi.
This is a tough one.
I think for me, I do have to go with Ragnarok here. I do feel again like as Ben was talking about, like I enjoy the zaniness of when Marvel goes zany, and not to say Shang-Chi doesn't also have zaniness to it, but I feel Ragnarok was so unique and had so many just great individual moments in it that I have to go with that one.
Yeah, I really do enjoy Shang-Chi. I thought it was a great, I mean, it had a lot of great scenes and great stuff to it. I thought the martial arts was great. But I will say the characters I did like a bit more in Thor Ragnarok. I thought they really brought out the humor of like Loki and Thor playing off each other really well. Whereas Shang-Chi was just sort of a more fun and like mystical adventure. So yeah, Thor Ragnarok for me.
Yeah, Ragnarok was a way to revitalize a character. Shang-Chi was really fresh just in the context of the MCU. Shang-Chi has a better villain. I think Wenwu is better than Hela. The action sequences are they're pretty close. Ragnarok on a bigger scale, Shang-Chi with the hand-to-hand. But Taika Waititi is one of my favorite directors working today. And I'll never vote against Korg. So Ragnarok gets my vote.
Yeah, Ragnarok for me too. I think it's a closer choice. I won't get into why in too much depth, but I think Ragnarok takes it ever so slightly.
So Max, why don't you pick our next matchup?
Oh, okay. Let's do No Way Home and Civil War.
My number 1 and my number 3 in the MCU in that order. I talked about fan service when I picked Civil War over Falcon and Winter Soldier. Fan service is dialed to 11 for much longer term superhero movie fans, comic book movie fans, in No Way Home. It's not really, as much as I love Captain America Civil War, I've seen it probably over a dozen times. No Way Home is well on its way to being, one of my favorite movies of all time. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with Spider-Man No Way Home.
yeah. George has been giving me a lot of crap for not mentioning No Way Home in my best of the year list. I should
Sorry.
I really should have. And I think here, while it isn't, I say this because it is my opinion, but also a little bit, to give one to George. They're both fantastic films, I gotta say. I think No Way Home just has so much to it, and Civil War already has so much to it. But No Way Home, it's even bigger, and so it has, many great things in it. I think I gotta go with No Way Home as well. For Matt Murdock alone.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I think No Way Home is just like, first of all, I think it is a better movie overall. Civil War, while it is fun, you do have a lot of moving pieces, so sometimes you're dealing with a lot. No Way Home, it's really smart the way that they do it. They're dealing with these crazy concepts like the multiverse and like all these different villains come in, but Peter Parker and Spider-Man remain sort of the same, and like in contrast to like Doctor Strange, who's just trying to manage things on like a multiversal scale and like save his universe and protect his universe, while Peter Parker is just trying to save everyone that's in front of him. I thought it was a really great idea, and I thought it was great that they built around the characters that they brought back and didn't bring them back just as like fan service. So No Way Home for me.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add that's new. No Way Home.
Declan, you want to pick our next matchup?
I think if you scroll back up, I will go to Endgame versus Iron Man. Interesting, the beginning versus the sort of end of the end of Iron Man at least, yeah. This again, I would say this is another tough one. Again, Iron Man's place kind of puts it up. It's able to fight back a little bit harder. It's still Endgame. I mean,
yeah, I don't think anyone would have been surprised if this ended up being our finals matchup if the bracket were constructed in a different way. Iron Man obviously has the biggest legacy of any project in the MCU. Endgame's a top 5 movie all time for me. It's really tough to send Iron Man home this early for me, but I love Avengers Endgame. I'm always going to love Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
Endgame for me.
Endgame.
All right, I'm going to go with one that I've wanted to talk about since I set up the bracket and saw that these two might match up in a second round. Infinity War against the Avengers. I'm going to talk first about this one because it's fresh on my mind. Ben, you just said about Civil War having a lot of moving pieces. Infinity War has a lot of moving pieces. And I think the reason why I'm picking the Avengers over Infinity War is because in Infinity War, there are drags for about 30, 35, 40 minutes where you haven't checked in with certain characters. And I think the construction of the story, while it's all one cohesive plot, there's just too much going on. And I think Endgame, it's impossible not to compare Infinity War and Endgame because they're two parts to one grand 5.5-hour story, even though they're two separate films. Endgame does a better job of managing, like particularly the time heist. So in Infinity War, while it is a top 7 or 8 MCU film for me, it doesn't move the needle in terms of the story construction of the film. And also, seeing all the Avengers on screen together for the first time. We talk about Iron Man's legacy. The Avengers has almost as big a legacy.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So I think you got a point that I was sort of thinking about, which is, yeah, like you said, moving pieces. But like, I think part of the reason that Endgame worked so well is like, yeah, you do have that big battle at the end, but that big battle at the end shows you how much they're working with. Too much. There's way too many characters. So cutting out half of them was actually really beneficial for storytelling because you could focus on a fewer characters for a longer amount of time. The Avengers, I think, work so well because there aren't too many characters yet. So you feel connected to each one, and they play off each other really well. Infinity War, there's just too much going on, and man, what a downer! Like, you never feel good after watching Infinity War unless you like finish it all the way through to Endgame. It just feels terrible at the end.
That's like watching Lord of the Rings all in one go.
Well,
I've done
yeah,
it. It's a long afternoon.
I must say, I feel like I would say this one was. I keep saying these are hard matches. This one was really hard for me. I do feel like though, George, you kind of. I think I might have been leaning towards Infinity War, but I think you sort of swayed me, and so I think I got to go with the Avengers in this one. You know, again, this is a really tough match because I mean, Infinity War is so unique and so good. Avengers has, again, it has legacy points. It is also very good, and so yeah, I think I have to go with Avengers.
I'll be the contrarian for this one. I would have gone with I'm going with Infinity War, even though I'm in the minority. And it's because it's such a downer, right? I like that they lost. And I liked that I didn't know where it was going after. And I had no idea what was going to happen next, what kind of opportunity the Avengers or whoever was left at that point would get to redeem themselves or to avenge those who died. And waiting an entire year for Endgame kind of is what I remember when I'm thinking about this debate, right? Is that I remember that anxiety building up and thinking of like, what different ways can this story go? Like, where are they taking this? And not knowing. And I liked that uncertainty. And I think that was something that had been missing from the MCU up until this point. There wasn't really that much where I was like, I don't have an idea of what's going on, or I don't have an idea of what's going to happen next. I got that after Infinity War, and I liked that feeling.
All right, Benji, why don't you pick our next matchup here?
How about WandaVision and Black Panther?
You want to start that one off, pal?
Yeah, for me, I had to think about it for a little bit, but yeah, I think WandaVision. It's a lot more unique, I guess. I mean, Black Panther is all around a really solid movie with some great acting, but there's something very new to WandaVision, like the whole way they tell a story. I thought it really hadn't been done before. So I think for that alone, it gets my vote. Also, it's magic, man. I have to vote for it.
Yeah, Black Panther I think is a great story, and we have a great villain in Killmonger. But WandaVision, it, like Ben said, is so unique in its storytelling and the way that it's structured, and that it brought things out of the MCU that are so fascinating and can continue throughout the next phase and the next few projects that they're coming out with. So for me, it's WandaVision as well.
It's
Declan.
no, I don't want to.
Go ahead.
It's painful to have to pick against Black Panther. I think just given its stature, WandaVision is such a unique endeavor. I think, and well done. I think I do have to go with WandaVision. This is a painful one, but I think I do have to go with WandaVision.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in the minority here. I think Black Panther, I said it when it won its first round matchup, it's one of the best superhero movies of all time. Ryan Coogler does such a great job with the story, with the actors. Chadwick Boseman gives an all-time iconic performance. And while I love what WandaVision does for the MCU and what it is as a story, Black Panther, again, we're going with WandaVision here, but Black Panther would get my vote
There's
if
a part of me that
if I had
almost,
spoken earlier.
yeah, there's a part of me that almost wants to now change my vote so we can make it a tie, but yeah, no, that's cheating.
Who picked that one? That was Max.
I
That was Ben.
That was Ben. So Max, why don't you pick now?
Okay.
Wait, we're
so
on
that
our
one-
last matchup.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, no.
Why don't you pick Max?
I also think I did. I picked I picked the first one in, or I picked so I think it wasn't even me, anyways.
So Homecoming and What If.
This is the weirdest one.
This is
I feel like
weird.
It's really
Like-
weird.
It's like completely like separate things, you know?
I don't know. I think for me.
No,
go ahead, George. You want to go?
Max, all you.
Okay. I think the highs of What If are really, really high. It had some really strong episodes in there. Strange Supreme is the one that jumps out to me. The final two episodes also jump out to me. But then it also had some ones that didn't really move the needle, and that were kind of lackluster. I think overall Homecoming was a far more consistent project, and it was a great introduction to Spider-Man, to the MCU in a longer form than just his cameo in Civil War. And so I think that's what's going to do it for me, and is going to hand Homecoming, I guess, the upset based off of rankings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that. Sorry, Declan. I think that just quickly here, Homecoming is, as Max said, really consistent across the board. It's a fun story. It's low to the ground, and also it's Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. Tom Holland's performance is really fresh. Michael Keaton, I love the inclusion of Tony Stark, everything I touched on before. What If? It's got really high highs, probably higher highs than Homecoming does. It's also got some pretty average lows. So I'm going to be the second one here to cast a vote for Homecoming.
Yeah. I'll say that I feel that What If I feel like never quite lived up to its true potential in terms of like what it offered. I feel like it still came together well, as you were saying you both were saying the highs are really high in it, but you know there are lows in it. I feel like Homecoming is a really good story the whole way through, and is consistent the whole way through. And so yeah, Homecoming gets my vote.
Yeah, I think you guys already know what I'm voting for, but I will defend What If. I really enjoyed the variety. Like, I agree some of the episodes are not as strong, but the strongest episodes make it worthwhile for me.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
it worked
Fair. Yeah.
in a way like there's just something about it that you don't get from any other Marvel like entity. And also like a lot of Doctor Strange in there. You get to see some cool Doctor Strange stuff. So
yeah,
it's yeah, I don't know, I like it.
Max, you want to pick our first match with the Elite Eight?
Sure.
We have 4 of them, so each of us get a pick.
Yeah.
Or 3 of us get a pick, and one of us gets to pick the first of the next one.
Let's do the Avengers and whichever one, and WandaVision.
Really, really tough for me, WandaVision.
Easy for me. WandaVision.
I think I have to.
Yeah, it's easy for me too. It's WandaVision.
Oh, I'll be the minority and say the Avengers.
I really thought there was going to be a debate there, guys. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Everything I said before, I think WandaVision is just a lot more unique, and the Avengers is a really solid team up movie, but WandaVision is a lot more fresh.
Mm.
And when you have this many Marvel movies, I feel like the more fresh, just something pops out when you do
Yeah.
something new.
I agree.
Declan, wanna pick the next one? We got 3 others.
I guess pain has been good for debate. So let's go with the most painful one to decide, which is on the top here, No Way Home versus Guardians of the Galaxy.
No pain whatsoever in deciding this one for me. No Way Home. I love
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy, but if you're
Yeah.
if you're diminishing it down to just story and visuals, which I think are the 2 draws of Guardians of the Galaxy, No Way Home has each of those, but better for me.
That's fair.
I think no way home for me as well.
Yeah, I'll vote for No Way Home. However, I will say, saying one is better than the other, I think is a little much because they feel very different. I mean, yes, they have a lot of visuals, but Guardians of the Galaxy, just the heroes themselves, Star-Lord is a little bit selfish, a little self-centered, but also, finds his way making more of himself into a hero. Whereas Peter, yeah, I mean, he was selfish or whatever, but he did risk like literally everything, including reality, his entire life to save a bunch of villains that came through that he barely knew. So
True.
very different heroes,
Yeah.
and the soundtrack does hold special place. I thought it was a unique vision for like him listening to the music while Loki was going.
Yeah. I think I do have to go with the majority here as well. I intentionally chose this because it was painful for me and all that. I mean, Guardians has so much going for it. I would say completely redefined the characters it had. No Way Home was fantastic, and so yeah, I'll go with that one.
I'm gonna set up one here. Thor Ragnarok against Spider-Man Homecoming.
Ragnarok.
Yeah, I'd say Ragnarok is a stronger film.
I'll go with
Yeah.
I'll go with Ragnarok as well.
We are unanimous.
Oh wow.
Endgame and Loki.
It's a tough one.
Kind of tough.
Not for me. You guys know what I'm picking.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to agree with George and go with Endgame as well. I mean, Loki was good. Endgame. I have to go with Endgame.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. Well, Endgame's gonna win anyway, so it doesn't really matter what I vote. But I will say there is something about Loki that I don't get from Endgame. They're just different adventures.
Mm-hmm.
The stakes you feel are a lot higher in Endgame. And even though Loki is like dealing with, realities and alternate dimensions, you're having so much fun that it's not weighed down by the consequences. So they're different in their own ways. Though I guess the time heist is kind of like fun too. I don't know. Endgame probably.
Endgame.
They're both really good.
Yeah, they're both really good projects.
They are both really good. So now we're in the final 4. We have Spider-Man No Way Home, Avengers Endgame, WandaVision, and Thor Ragnarok.
I almost wish they were like switched around, so it's. I feel like they're placed in a way where it's even harder, to decide between them.
So Ben, why don't you pick which of these? There we go. Which of these do you want to tackle first?
Let's tackle WandaVision versus Ragnarok. I will actually, go against WandaVision. I was singing its praises, and while I still love it, Ragnarok does something very unique, and it's that it took a franchise that was, well, not a franchise, a character at least, character movies, and resurrected it. Like the first, I know someone else was saying like the first Thor movie is not that bad. It's average.
It's not that bad. It's average. It's
The
average.
second one is
As I
terrible.
think George was saying that earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dark World. there's a reason why the Dark World was eliminated so quickly.
I think it's really impressive though what Taika Waititi did. Like he really rejuvenated not just the series itself, Thor, but like the characters. Reinvented them almost so that you really had fun. Like that aspect of comedy that sort of showed itself a few times in the past really like came to the forefront. WandaVision I think is really good too, but it's like a different type of project. I think they're kind of hard to compare, but overall I'll give it to Ragnarok just because a consistency too. Like I did enjoy the overall WandaVision project, but some episodes were stronger than others. Ragnarok was like consistent all the way through. I think that's what you were saying, Max. Someone was saying that about What If. I think all of you were saying that probably.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna agree with you here. WandaVision is my shit. And I've been, like you said, we've been singing its praises this whole time. It's made it this far, but Ragnarok's just so much gosh darn fun. And I think Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston and Mark Ruffalo and Tessa Thompson and Jeff flippin' Goldblum. I like Agatha Harkness as a villain more than I like Hela. I think Catherine Hahn does a better job than Kate Blanchett. But Ragnarok, Taika Waititi, I'm not gonna vote against Korg in this semifinal. So Ragnarok, it's 2-0 for Ragnarok right now.
I think I also have to go with Ragnarok as well. I think your point about it being consistent the whole way through, while WandaVision having at least 1 or 2 episodes that aren't as good as other ones, I think that's a valid point. And so I think that's what helped. I think Ragnarok has vision, uniqueness to it, and I have to go with that one.
I agree. Ben's point about consistency throughout was really what got me as well. And that's why I'm going to go with Ragnarok.
So now we've got one place in our final round set. We have the most recent entry into the MCU going up against the biggest entry in the MCU. I feel like the seeds in this one could be flipped and it would be the exact same.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
I was saying before, and I'm going to get my vote out of the way quickly here. Spider-Man No Way Home is well on its way to being one of my favorite movies. Avengers Endgame is already there. Endgame.
I'm going to go with No Way Home because for me, it didn't have the same gaps and slowness that Endgame did at certain points. Like I think Endgame slowed down around the middle part of it, and it slowed down a little bit too much. I know what they're trying to do, and I know that it's a hugely ambitious project, and I appreciate that. And this is taking nothing away from how much I enjoy Endgame, continue to enjoy Endgame, but I think I just liked the story they were trying to tell in No Way Home more than in Endgame. I think with Endgame, I've said this before, but I think I kind of knew where it was going to end up, at least in a general sense. Even going into the theater, I knew that, things would in some way work out. In No Way Home, I wasn't quite sure, and things didn't really work out that well. And there was that nice balance of just humanness and
perfectly imperfect.
Yeah, it really was, and that's why for me, No Way Home, I think is my pick here.
Yeah, I think No Way Home for me as well. For a few reasons, mainly like I think stories around one person are a lot stronger than stories around like multiple different heroes. While I do enjoy Endgame, it is dealing with more than one hero, so you kind of get less time with them. No Way Home, I think, did a lot in a short amount of time. And I thought it was also just a lot of fun to see, like, you know, the other Peter Parkers join up. It's a very crazy idea to take every other, you know, well, not every, but the other Spider-Mans and their villains and put them all in a movie together. That's pretty crazy. And I did enjoy that more than Endgame. Also, like very little Doctor Strange in Endgame. It seemed to have disappeared. No Way Home, it's got more. So No Way Home for me.
Declan, are you going to send us to a tie or send No Way Home to the final?
You know what I'm gonna say? Endgame has both I Am Iron Man and Avengers Assemble. No Way Home has, you know, I'm something of a scientist myself. For that reason, I think I also kind of, this is a difficult one for me. I think I got to go with Endgame.
Wait, how can you say that? After I'm thinking of a science. I thought you were going for No Way Home.
Sorry, I should have reversed it. What I was trying to imply is Endgame has like two utterly legendary moments. No Way Home has like the meme of all memes in there. Like the only way.
You're forgetting there's two memes. All right.
Wait, what's the second meme? Oh, right, pointing.
Spider-Man pointing.
And the thing is, Into the Spider-Verse did the pointing meme even better somehow. So it kind of takes away some of the thunder of No Way Home's pointing memes. And so so I think I have to go with
technicality. All right, toss.
I think this one is probably, since they are my 1 and 2 in the MCU, I'm really glad this one came down to a coin flip.
Yeah, I won't be upset with either one moving on.
Yeah.
So heads is Spider-Man No Way Home, tails is Avengers Endgame.
See.
Spider-Man No Way Home is moving to the final.
Okay.
So now we talk about our final matchup.
Still an unexpected one. Not unexpected, but still a little bit surprising.
I was surprised to see No Way Home make it to the final, even after the discussion we just had 10 seconds ago. I didn't think it would get here. I thought recency bias might push it behind some other projects. I'll open the floor to the rest of you guys before saying my piece.
Tough one. I think I'm going to have to vote for Ragnarok, just because I like the movie overall more. I did love a lot of the stuff that it did in No Way Home, but I think the way that all the characters played off of each other in Ragnarok is like, that's some legendary, you know, comedic like chops. And I thought it was great in the context of, you know, superheroes and Thor. It's perfect for that type of character. And No Way Home is just like overall a very solid movie. But for me, you know, I'm just drawn to Ragnarok more.
I'm
Declan,
not gonna
or Max?
say much about my choice. I'm going with No Way Home. It's in my top 3 MCU movies, and I'm gonna stick to that. It's just such a strong entry, and yeah, the fan service was great, but again, I like the ones where something different happens in the end, where the hero doesn't necessarily get the happy ending, and we certainly don't get a happy ending in No Way Home. George knows this, but my theory surrounding Phase 4 of the MCU and everything is it's about grief and loss and how we deal with that. And there's no better character to embody that than Spider-Man. Such a human character, such a relatable character that is supposed to be down to earth. It's supposed to be on the ground fighting street level villains. And yet we haven't gotten that in the MCU. It looks like that's the direction we're going. And it was set up pretty brilliantly in No Way Home. And that's why No Way Home is my champion.
Declan?
Again, this is so difficult. Taika Waititi had to like reinvent a character who had kind of never quite found its best footing. John Watts had to both, in some ways, like fulfill a character arc across a trilogy, and also do so much with so many other characters that had not had any previous exposure to the MCU before. God, this is God. This is. I mean, it's meant to be hard. Of course, this is hard. Jumping out at me. I think I might have to go with No Way Home. I think it's a really good version of a Spider-Man film, and like a really solid like culmination. This is so difficult, but I'm going with No Way Home. Ugh.
Yeah.
My gosh, this is painful.
No point toss for the winner.
Mm.
I don't like how you're just assuming what I'm gonna say, Ben.
I
I think I'm gonna shock the world here. And this is an MCU bracket, not just a movie bracket. You know, we did the Christmas movie bracket, and that was one thing. We also had a much easier finals matchup in that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Home Alone 2, Declan's favorite Christmas movie. I love what No Way Home does. And like I said, it's on its way to being one of my favorite movies of all time. I love what No Way Home does in the sense that it's setting up so much for Spider-Man and for the multiverse moving forward. But in its place in the MCU, we don't know where that's going yet. And
True.
Ragnarok, I'm gonna piggyback on something Max said when he said his piece about this matchup. You're talking about maybe an imperfect ending. Yeah, Thor becomes king of Asgard at the end of Ragnarok, but then you get the post-credit scene where he and Loki are faced with Thanos' sanctuary too. So
He's also king of the Asgardian people. His whole planet got.
that's
Oh, like not a
the planet
great-
got. That's how we're phrasing it.
The scientific term for what happened in Ragnarok.
And again, Infinity War and Endgame is the greatest two-part story told on screen this century, I think. But in the scope of the MCU, it is the quintessential Marvel Cinematic Universe story, is that of the Avengers. And I think Ragnarok setting up everything that happens in Infinity War and Endgame with that threat of Thanos that's been present the whole time. For an MCU bracket, I'm going with Ragnarok.
That's pretty fair.
Let's flip the coin.
I've been going with favorites this whole time. Again, it was really easy early on, but as we went on, I was sort of realizing that this is for the purposes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, not for the purposes of my favorite movies. So let's decide this MCU bracket in the last hour and a quarter of our lives with the flip of a coin between heads for Spider-Man No Way Home, tails for Thor Ragnarok.
Oh boy.
Anyone want to make a last minute switch? No? Okay, here we go. And Spider-Man No Way Home.
All right, is this coin like correct? Because it did heads 3 times around. Oh,
Details there. I'm almost like let's do the Google version. No, I don't know.
Interesting.
So
There's a part of me that almost now wants to change my vote to Thor Ragnarok, but it's too late. It's too late.
the Cinderella story of our 7 seed going all the way comes to an end. We're gonna go full screen here.
Oh man.
That was a lot of fun. We're gonna wrap up here because it is getting to be a long episode. I didn't think I expected it to be this long, but we had a lot to say. We all love these movies.
Mhm. Who'd be surprised? We talk a lot about the MCU on this podcast.
Coming full circle on this episode, Declan, explaining the obvious.
Yeah.
We love the MCU. We're really excited for the premiere of Moon Knight, which is the next MCU project, March 30th. The trailer is on YouTube right now. Most of the MCU is currently on Disney Plus. You can find the other projects elsewhere on streaming for rentals. But if you haven't seen the MCU, what are you waiting for at this point? We've got a lot of fun projects coming up. More rapid reviews, other movie stuff here. We've got no Unqualified Film Bros next week. We are taking a hiatus. We will be back in 2 weeks, setting up the Super Bowl. Fun little tease for that with some big news out of the NFL over the last couple of days. So that's going to do it for this episode. We will see you in 2 weeks. In the meantime, go watch some movies. We'll see you soon.
Good night.
Good night.